Hey everyone, Tony George, Doc Sports, a huge Thursday update, including a podcast update that goes live at noon Central today. Myself, Griff Murphy, on the Vegas Beat. That's on StreamYard, so that's only on my Twitter and my Facebook page. Twitter is at TGeorgeSports. Facebook, just type in Tony George Sports. We're talking Sweet 16 and the Final Four of the NIT. Raw, candid, unfiltered. Tune in. You can go to StreamYard Live. You can make comments and ask questions, whatever, too. That's at noon Central, the Vegas Beat. And we'd usually do the Hoops Happy Hour show here on this channel, but unfortunately, our producer, Jeremy, his father-in-law passed away, and he's traveling back and forth to Minnesota to deal with that. So we're going to let the dust settle with him and letting him take care of his family and things that are important. When something like that happens, betting sports is not important. Nothing. Not even close. So we're going to let that settle down. So Griff and I will be doing that at noon Central today. Again, at T George Sports or Facebook. Just type in Tony George Sports in the search bar, and it'll be archived there once it's over. Okay. Major League Baseball opening day. We're going to talk about Major League Baseball at the end of this video. Can tell you what's going on over at the website at the end of the video. It's going to be a little long-winded. We'll get right to the free plays. I've got one for you in this Clemson Arizona game. I'm also going to give you a lean in the NBA. And we have two games tonight on a two-pack. One of them is a 6-unit top play in the Iowa State-Illinois game. And then we have the Carolina-Bama game as well on there. That's what we're doing tonight. We'll tell you about all of it in just a second. You know, I looked at this game 6 ways from Sunday yesterday, and I thought about the narratives all year long. I watched some podcasts with some various people I respect last 3 days, read some articles over at The Athletic and a couple other places from writers that I respect that have good takes on games. And a lot of them made cases for the two biggest underdogs tonight, and that would be San Diego State and Clemson. And the San Diego State-UConn game is intriguing on a lot of levels, especially since it's a redo of last year's national title game where UConn wiped the floor with them by 17. And what's changed? Who's gotten better? Who's gotten worse? What's revenge worth? You know, a lot of storylines in that game. The other storyline was all year long, Arizona was probably the best team in the country and going to be a number 1 seed. Where they're not the best team in the country and they're a number 2 seed. The other narrative was that the ACC sucked this year. It was North Carolina and everybody else don't know what Duke's going to do. Well, here's North Carolina, Duke, and 2 other ACC teams which make up 25% of the field left remaining out of the ACC. And yes, North Carolina State is the biggest seed left remaining. I guess you could call them a Cinderella. They Cinderellaed through the ACC tournament. Beat up on North Carolina, yet they're the lowest rated team left standing. That doesn't even make sense. The other thing is Arizona, look at the path to get here. Just how I saw it. You got a Clemson team that is pesky, that hangs around, that likes to slow things down and muck things up, and shut down prolific offenses, teams that run the floor and shoot the three, kind of like Baylor. Who's Baylor remind you of? Oh, Arizona. High octane offense. Run the floor, knocking down threes. They made them look like a butt clown. And they beat New Mexico, too. Where Arizona's path to get here? Long Beach State with a lame duck head coach who was fired 4 games before the season was over and somehow out of nowhere won his conference tournament and got in here. And he got beat by 20. Well, I can name you 15 teams in the opening round that would beat Long Beach State by 20. And then they struggled with Dayton to a 10-point win. Dayton's also ran in the A-10. I just think it's too many points. If it was Arizona minus 2, I mean, Arizona, you lost twice to Washington State. They got blown out by Stanford, of all people. Lost to FAU. Lost to USC. Oregon State. And Pac-12 wasn't all that. Pac-12 was good in football. It was decent in basketball. Oregon, obviously. But in Colorado, okay, I'll give you that. Where are Oregon and Colorado at right now? Nowhere. Where's Washington State at? Nowhere. I just think it's too many points. We're not betting the farm on this. This isn't the super lock of the millennium. It's a free play, small lean. Give me Clemson plus the number. Also, in the NBA tonight, we took one on the chin last night with the Pacers. What was that? My goodness. Took them against the Clippers plus 6. They blew them out. They go to Chicago, lay an egg. Halliburton couldn't hit a bull in the butt with a handful of rocks. So I'm passing tonight because there's only 2 games. I'd lean on the over 224 in that Milwaukee and New Orleans game. They played once this year. The score was 141 to 117. And McCollum in that game for the Pelicans only had 7 points. That's not going to happen again. I know that New Orleans is playing better defense and slowing things down a little bit, but this is a high-profile game too. Big high-profile game. You know, best in the East, one of the best in the East, second best in the East, with second or third best in the West tonight. Yeah, pick them. Basically, pick a ball game. Yeah, I take the over. Okay, over at the website, we have a 6-unit top play and a 3-unit play in the other 2 games we discussed. We've hit case 6 out of our last 9 basketball cards. We lost one last night on UNLV. Both favorites dominated in them quarterfinals in the NIT. Surprising results in both games as far as I'm concerned. We swept the night before, but last night we got stung with UNLV. They never got off the bus. It's that little gym Seton Hall's playing in right now. For whatever reason, so we got the Final Four. We're going to talk about that on the show a little bit here on the podcast. Also, Major League Baseball, we have a 3-pack. I've done over 4,000 videos here on Doc's YouTube channel since 2017. And one thing I can tell you that's always been consistent 100% of the time is I'm brutally honest. Win, lose, or draw. I'm too old to get up in the morning, look myself in the mirror, and try and remember what yesterday's story was. It's real simple. It's either a win or a loss. Period. And you just tell it like it is. You know. By the way, that's a company rule. Truthful. So I'll be truthful. Last year was the worst year I've had in Major League Baseball in my entire career. So much so, I had said at one point that I wasn't going to do baseball. And I said the same thing about NBA. Well, this year I took a different tact in the NBA, different system, a different philosophy, and we're over 60% on the year. In Major League Baseball, it falls in the summer. Now, those of you that follow me know that my wife and I split time between here and Kansas City now. Matter of fact, my wife's been back in Kansas City for a month and a half. I haven't even seen her. We have a place there and a place here. I prefer to work out here because of the state of Missouri. Although Kansas and Missouri state line runs through the middle of Kansas City, does not allow sports betting. Crazy. But Kansas does. You drive down the road, cross the line, but turn on your app. But you got crappy choices. So I like being out here doing what I do for a living. I also would like to have a vacation. I haven't had one in 6 years. I'd also like to spend time with my wife and my children while I'm still young enough to go out and do something. I can't do that with baseball as a daily sport and you're dedicated to your craft. So I was going to take a walk, but there was a guy that sent in a bunch of plays, like Tim Fines did, who does my WNBA and helps me with college basketball, which has been successful. We've had better years of college basketball, but the WNBA over 60% each season since he's done it. So this gentleman had a system. He'd been sending in picks for a couple years, been tracking him. Last year, not only me, but a ton of people that I know and respect just got it handed to them in Major League Baseball. This guy was shining like a shooting star. So I brought him on board. It's going to be a little higher volume, lower units, but a little higher volume. I only put out one play a day. Wasn't working. Spreads it around a little bit, likes a lot of underdogs. A couple other things he does on his totals, just different things that have proven to be very impressive. So we're going to run it up the pole this year for Major League Baseball. And it's also going to free up a little time for me. It's not that I'm ignoring it or not paying attention, but it frees up time for me to make this transition back and forth to Kansas City and maybe spend some of this summer with my family and recharge the batteries because I ain't getting no younger. I'm looking at 5 more years in this industry, and that's about it anyway. So I'm getting up there. But nonetheless, I'm excited about it in baseball. So that's what's going on in baseball. 4-unit NHL play today. 7-2 run off back-to-back 6-unit winners. Come on. If I didn't have a top play in college basketball tonight, this would be a top play. So go get it. Doc Sports, free $60. Link in the description below. See you at noon Central on the Vegas Beat. At T. George Sports, Twitter or Facebook, Tony George Sports, live with Griff Murphy. All things March Madness.